Welcome back to PuckPod by BD Sports, part of our special episode 81, which is really 4 parts. Today we're tackling the Metro Division, the Metropolitan. Before we get into it, guys, how are we doing? It feels like it's been a while since we last spoke. Maybe if you're watching, it won't feel like a while, but how are we feeling here in the room?
Feeling good, Christian. Coming near the end of the week. It's been a long one, but a good one, and I'm excited to get to the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely been a long week. It's been an interesting week, that's for sure. At least for me, Aidan, and Christian, we're kind of in the same boat with our group. Brando, I don't know, he could kind of relate to this, but like we got kind of hammered on Tuesday with one of our assignments, or not even an assignment. It's just like in class things to do. Everybody kind of left here on Tuesday, kind of feeling down. We had to like kind of take the day. We're kind of like coming over it, but like I think spirits are starting to kind of look forward to the future, I think.
Yeah, we're back. I mean,
well, not yet.
Well, on the way back. Last week was pretty hectic. I feel like this week's been pretty chill, so I'm feeling good.
You're right. It has been a chill week, but I don't know, for whatever reason today I've been like hella tired, and my only motivation to get up and get going with the day today was to do this right now. So
hell yeah,
jump right in, baby.
Let's start. We're gonna go with the Carolina Hurricanes here as our first team that we're gonna get into free agency analysis on. The Hurricanes didn't. They didn't land maybe who they wanted to, considering they went super, super hard to try and retain Jake Gensel. But in place of that, they did a ton. They re-signed Jacob Slavin officially on July 1st, even though we had lots of word about it beforehand. 6.46 for the next 8 years for the 30-year-old. Also brought back Jordan Martinook, 3.05 for next 3 years. William Carrier, $2 million for 6 years. Sean Walker on the back, 3.6 mil for 5 years, and Shane Gostisbehere for a second run around in Carolina, 3.2 times 3. Jack Roslovic as well. I'm gonna mention 2.8 times 1. That was later on in July. Re-signed Jack Drury yesterday, 2 years, 1.725 for 3.45. Lots to go over there with Carolina. So wherever you boys would like to start with what they did.
I don't know about you guys, but there's one signing there that's so glaringly just what a signing. That Sean Walker deal for 5 years and only just over 3.5 per is frankly ridiculous that they got that type of signing.
What's your thinking?
That's a great deal.
I thought by all estimates, I thought he was going to get like 5.5 plus.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Was that not like the number that we were hearing?
I would have guessed like 4.5. If I had to put a number on it definitely starts with a 4, maybe a 5, but it would be a 5 flat. Like I think 5 would have been the cap for me, and I like Sean Walker a ton. He had a really good year with Philly after being traded there, but the couple of years before that, he was injured a ton. So I don't know. Like he didn't really have the leverage of a track record behind this year, but even I'm still agreeing with you. 3.6 is low. I do think that's low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to reach higher for like in the 5s, but man, even if it was like 4.5, that's still like pretty. Yeah. I would say that's a fair deal.
That
like this
fair
is like
value,
very undercut. That's almost a full. Like that's $500,000 right there. 3.6 is nothing, especially in 5 years from now. Like that's going to look like a minuscule deal.
Yeah, it's not just 3.6, but it's 3.6 plus the term, which is still
5 years.
5 years is like that's great for Walker. That's pretty good term, but also for Carolina. Like he's 29, so you're getting, you should be getting. Yeah, you're gonna get a couple years that aren't great, but at least 3 of those 5 years, you should be getting full value out of that, if not like surplus, right?
Mm-hmm. You guys are gonna believe this. I might be the biggest Eric Robinson fan on the planet.
Oh my God, I didn't even mention him.
I love this guy. Whenever I think of him, I think of the playoff series against the Leafs when he was on Columbus. He killed Toronto. Maybe not on the score sheet, but just like physically.
You noticed him?
I noticed him a lot, and I've been begging for years. Maybe somehow he ends up on the Leafs, but obviously didn't. But yeah, I really like Robinson. I think that's a good depth piece to add to their forwards. And then I like them bringing in Walker and Gostisbehere. I don't know. I feel like their window's kind of closing. Like this might be their last run at it. But as far as losing Getzel, I think it hurts. But they still have plenty of great players to potentially go on a run.
Yeah, I think you're right, Aidan. Like they kind of, I would say they moved laterally a little bit. Like they did lose Brady Shea, obviously with the Gensel situation, but
Brett
they
Pesce.
Jake
Pesce
Gensel.
as well. Yeah, they brought in guys who maybe are not as household names or not as flashy, but can kind of fill in some of those similar roles. I think they'll be maybe lacking a bit of scoring with the Gensel situation. They didn't bring in anybody.
Tavo as well. They lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
I forgot about that.
So there's I think that's the part. They brought in a lot of good pieces that I think defensively will help. Like I like the Gossespear deal too. Like he's kind of near the end, it feels like, but he can still really help them. And between him, Walker, and then obviously keeping Slavin, it keeps their core defensively intact. You still got Burns there and Orlov. I think they're okay. Like I not great, but they're okay.
Yeah, I think the real story here, if I'm going to pick out one, is the Slavin signing. It was the one we heard about first, even before like the Gensel rumors and everything, because I think no matter where the Hurricanes wanted to go with their offseason, that was happening no matter what. And it's definitely at a number that's lower than people thought. Sure, 8 years is a lot of term. It's the most term you can give anybody. But at 6.46 for one of the best defensemen in the game, I think that's a risk that you're willing to take if you're Carolina 10 times out of 10.
Sure.
But yeah, I do agree with the sentiment that this is kind of a down season, or this is going to project at least to be a down season for the Hurricanes, just looking at who they lost and who they brought in. Like Tavo is top 6 quality. Gensel obviously was fantastic for them in the playoffs. He was everything they've been looking for, and they couldn't have him stick around. Shea was huge. Pesce's been there forever. So yeah, even if you just isolate the defense, you lost Shea and Pesce. You're bringing in Gossespear and Walker. Definite downgrade, but it does feel like they're at least they're gonna try and go with like a new look blue line where those guys both they both trend towards offense first, and so speed as well. So we'll see. It's gonna be a different look in Carolina for sure.
Well,
but
and we talked about this I think on a previous episode. I think they're betting that Jalen Chatfield kind of really takes that next step. Obviously, they re-signed him, and I think. On the defensive end, especially, like he might be that kind of chip that they are ready to play and say, hey, this guy's ready to take more minutes and kind of go at it and show what he can really do.
I don't think I'll ever forget that's going to be Eric Tulski's first move as Carolina Hurricanes GM. And we'll have to see how the rest of his moves pan out. But if I'm going to wager a guess here, like I'm still feeling confident that like Kane's plan, and they'll just have guys next year too where we'll be like, who the hell is this guy?
Oh yeah.
And they just light it up, right? They've got some prospects on the way. Forget the guy's name.
It feels like any team under Rod is just they're gonna play exactly to Rod's system, right? Like
there's always the buy-in, because if there's no buy-in, you're not on the team.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't matter what like whatever you think of like their like whatever you thought of Sean Walker before, whatever you thought of that's really all that they added on the back end. But like another year of Dmitry Orlov, and Shane Gossespear as well. Like whatever you think of those two. I'd say get rid of those memories and get ready for their time in Carolina, their time under Rod. So
yeah, we'll see how it plays out there. Let's move on to the Columbus Blue Jackets, who didn't do a lot. We'll see if Aidan can find a new Eric Robinson on this team. Let me lay it out in terms of what they did. It's one singular name of interest. Sean Monahan, 5.5 times 5 for the 29-year-old center after finishing up in Winnipeg. Let's start there before Aidan gives us his depth name of the year. But Sean Monahan, guys, how do we feel?
Oof. Listen, it's a fine. I don't know. It's an all right signing. Like Monahan's whatever. 5.5. Yeah. Right now they have him listed as the first line center, and you know what? I agree. I don't think they should be throwing. They really don't have anybody to throw up there. I think Sean Monahan could at least do that job for this year, maybe next year, and let Adam Fantilli grow into that role.
Yeah.
Right now,
Fantilli is definitely that guy that should be there eventually.
Yeah.
I'd even go as far to wager Monahan should start as 1C.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, though.
Yeah. I mean, listen, even if they give him a look, like Fantilli's still 20, right?
Yeah.
20, not even 21 yet. Monahan's been there. Let him have it. If they want to give Fantilli looks up there, but I wouldn't like commit to it this year. I would say maybe next year going forward. If he's made enough of an improvement, I would say for sure give him that look. But I think the Monahan deal for at least the next 3 years he should be relatively productive, and even if it's not like point production that he's going to give you, he'll give you some leadership quality. He's been around that leadership core in Calgary. I don't know if, depending on how you want to look at it, but he's been around it. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt at least to help mentor somebody like Fantilli and other young guys too. Like you got Ken Johnson there, Cole Sillinger. There's guys on the team. Like there's a couple of players, but I don't know how much improvement they're going to make over. Next year.
It's probably never a good sign where if Sean Monahan does have to be your 1C for a year, at least if you have like playoff aspirations, and maybe that's not the case really for the Blue Jackets. But yeah, I don't know. I think with Monahan, I'll throw it to you guys actually before I answer this. Like, what do you guys see as potential downsides with this signing? Well, it's one that comes to mind right away for me, but what do you guys got?
Well, I would just say that I don't see him as, when you look at their center depth, I don't see him as a guy who can carry a team. I mean, they're not expecting him to come in and save the franchise, but like even I think the way you described the year between him and Fantilli and the way that they'll be used, I think was spot on. I totally expect Monahan to come in, give that veteran presence, kind of start the year maybe in that top spot. Fantilli's health too. I think he had an injury towards the end of the year. Not sure how much that will affect him starting next season, if at all. But I think just growing into that role as 1C, I think that's where he's going to be. Obviously, that's where he's projected to eventually be. But this forward group to me is still just so young, and that's what I mean. Bringing Monahan in, spending that money, they got to get to the floor. They got to do all this stuff that I've talked about with other teams too. But I just don't. I don't see a fit really.
Yeah. The 3-year timeline that Dave brought up, it definitely could make a lot of sense. If imagine in 3 years, Fantilli 1C. Caden Lindstrom 2C, who they just drafted, right? And then you have Sean Monahan as a 3C on the back end of that deal. I was just pulling up Monahan's stats here so I can bring up what I wanted to. This is one of the rare years where Monahan actually played. I think he actually led the NHL in games played this year because he played 83. I don't know if it was one of the guys who played 83. Wow. But that hasn't been the case usually, right? The whole reason that he ended up in Montreal is because Tree Living stuck a first-round pick to him to get rid of him and his $6.5 million because it was just like, this guy's not playing enough. We need to send him over. And then Montreal, of course, got another first when they traded him to Winnipeg. But I think it's just availability with Sean Monahan that we're not sure about because I like the player too. He does it all. But yeah, that's got to be my biggest question mark with Sean Monahan.
Yeah, I thought he was a great fit in Winnipeg just
because
he could just slide in right behind Scheifele like as a 1C for this year. I don't know how well or how successful he'll be, but signing kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't have Columbus anywhere on my radar for Monahan.
Yeah.
Did you write about him?
Yeah, I thought he'd go. I picked maybe Utah. I think that was the place I thought.
Yeah, fair.
I found my Eric Robinson replacement. It's Oshawa's own Justin Danforth.
Speak of that name.
Yeah, right. That's a solid pick just for the name.
Topical.
Justin Masabuka.
Yeah, right. Shout out them. Okay. Moving forward.
Good luck, Columbus.
Good luck, Columbus. Good luck, Justin.
I think it would also be remiss without mentioning one player that's not on that list that we have. Patrick Laine. Still a lot of uncertainty around that. Like, what's he going to be like if he's able to come back next season? We still have no idea if he's going to be eligible to play next season. Really don't have any background info on him, and we don't want to speculate either, right? But that's just something like if Patrick Laine is able to come back to form, that could be a 35 goal scorer on your wing that you're inserting back into the team. If he's not able to, that's $8.5+ million that is just not there.
Without touching the cap part of it, like even if he comes back and he's not like the prime Patrick Laine, which is dumb to say because he's still young, he's still in his age prime, but even if he comes back and is still giving like a 20 goal output. With this like forward core, that still helps a ton.
Probably a lot,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like the floor is low.
But with all the talks of him potentially maybe moving on from him, do you guys think you guys see him coming back and playing for the Blue Jackets again?
No, it honestly does seem like the least likely outcome, right? Like I'd say outcome number 1 in terms of probability is that he gets traded and plays for another team. Outcome 2 might be that he still doesn't play yet, right? That he sits out waiting for
Another
that
year.
trade to start the year. Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't know. Like, well, if we're gonna attach the cap back to it, I don't know how many teams are gonna. I mean, granted, if you wanna,
We just saw Pierre-Luc Dubois,
but
right?
Pierre-Luc Dubois played a full season, right?
Yes, but like, yeah. I think Laine's deal might be a little bit more palatable.
Well, and
Yeah, it might be
you-
more palatable for what type of production he could bring.
Well, when you add in the off-ice issues too, though, it may be a little bit more difficult unless teams have, real assurances that they're getting a player who's
Mhm.
ready to come back and ready to do his thing.
And they're getting
Which
a
I don't
player.
think they're not
right?
making that trade unless they get those assurances.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
probably.
No
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
blindly trading for
And that's
him,
where it comes
but-
into the point, like you said, like if he doesn't come, there could be multiple reasons why he doesn't come back right away,
Mhm.
right? So who knows?
Yeah. Good luck, Columbus.
8.7 for this year, and actually,
year as
sorry, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. We gotta get used to Puckpedia, fellas.
It's this year, next year.
It is this year, next year. Yeah, you're right. 8.7.
Yep.
So-
Good luck.
We'll see. New Jersey Devils. They poached a guy from the aforementioned Carolina Hurricanes. A couple of guys. Brett Pesce, 5.5 for 6 years. Stefan Nason, also Hurricanes, 2.75 for 3. Brendan Dillon, $4 million times 3. Tatar comes back on a 1.8. That's about it. But I think the general sentiment in New Jersey and probably like really around the league is that they are one of the winners with what they did and just how their roster looks now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, I think it was more of a surprise that they missed the playoffs last year, and you could really point it down to one factor. I don't know how many factors there are, but I could point it down to one for sure. Now they have goaltending. They really didn't get any of that last year. I think who started the season was Vitek Vanacek and who else?
Akira Schmid.
Akira Schmid.
'Cause
I think either of them had a save percentage above 890. I think the two of them like combined max was like 895 you're not winning games
Yeah.
and trying to reach a playoff spot with below almost 10 points below league average goal, maybe a little bit less, but way below league average goaltending. And they have two goaltenders. They brought in two guys, one by trade, one by was Jake Allen
Both by trade because
both
Jake
by
Allen
trade,
was
yeah.
trade during the
Last
year
year,
last
yeah.
year.
in the
Right?
year. Yeah. I mean,
Sportsnet
those are two.
analyst extraordinaire Jake Allen, if you
Yeah.
guys remember that.
Jake Allen, extremely dependable guy. Jacob Markstrom can be dependable and he's also prone to giving away the puck pretty
Yeah.
often. Like,
Can you depend on Jacob Markstrom more because of the dependableness of Jake Allen? Like I think
Yep.
this is a good mix for a tandem, right? I think
I-
this is kind of what you want if you're New Jersey.
They could have thrown anybody in there, and it probably would have been more dependable
Yeah.
than whatever they
Yeah.
had before, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's a plus. I think that's going to be the big factor between them. You know, they missed the playoffs. They almost made it back in after getting Jake Allen after the deadline. That's going to be the night and day factor. They're gonna pop off this year, man.
Yeah, I love what they did so far this free agency. I think Markstrom really solidifies what they've got going on in the goaltending situation. Obviously, with Allen last year, I don't think anyone saw that as a long-term solution for them. But what they did with their decor, I think, is great. Pesce especially, I think that's a great signing for them. Really kind of solidifies, again, what they're doing on the back end, kind of shoring up their biggest issue, which has been stopping teams from scoring on them. And then you bring in a guy like Brendan Dillon too, kind of a depth guy, big and strong, tough defender, like kind of complements the skill that they have back there as well. So I think that with those two teams, we know they're going to score. It's just how well can they stop other teams from doing the same.
Sheldon Keefe is gonna love like Pesce and Dillon. Like those
Yeah.
are two types of guys he didn't really have in Toronto, at least not for long periods of time. I think he's gonna love having those two at his disposal.
It looks easily like the best defensive core that he's ever had. Maybe even.
I think
Yeah.
100%.
I think by far and away
yeah.
the best defensive core.
Yeah.
Would we go as far to say maybe the best offensive core that he's ever had? Like, it's so tough because you have the Leafs have the elite, the superstars, but Jack
Look,
Hughes
even
is
if you want to let's do core 4 versus core 4.
Yeah, go.
All right, go Devils here. Like their core 4 is Hughes, Heischer, Meyer, and I'd say I guess Bratt. Actually, that's who's number 4 there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm taking that for. Okay, I'm not gonna say I'm taking that for over the Leafs, but I'm saying I'm taking that for like a team trying to win all day. Like I like that 4.
Even if you end up taking the Leafs, it's at least a discussion, right?
But when you throw in the cap, 100%.
Oh,
100%.
definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
And even I think that the Devils' bottom 6 this season is going to be much improved as well. You look at guys like, even just if this is how it were to pan out, a guy like Paul Cotter, I loved in Vegas. He really showed what he can do, I think, and is going to be another guy who kind of fits into their system well, kind of really quick, has good hands, and can really make some plays in a bottom 6 role. I think Nason too. He might not stay in the bottom 6 too long, depending on what their situation is. But with a guy like Palat, but they're just good depth moves, good like complementary moves to what they're trying to do. And I'm sure Keefe had a hand in that, helping too. I'm sure.
I don't know how much I love the bottom 6. I wish there was a bit more size and like snarl in
That's
there.
fair.
That's the only thing, because I was gonna say maybe they need like a third line for checking, but they really don't, because you have Nico Heischer, and the line that we've got right here on Daily Faceoff of Palat, Heischer, Bratt, like that's a great shutdown line.
Yeah.
So, but for me, it's just the size factor. They do seem a little like they're maybe one-dimensional is the word on forward. Like it just feels like a lot of the same type of player, which is good like to have an identity, but I think they could have used a little something else. Like that Will Carrier deal on Carolina would have looked mighty good for the Devils, for example.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. The New York Islanders, the team of Mr. Lou Lamoriello, who usually doesn't do a whole lot. They still didn't do very much. I actually start with something that happened a month and a half before free agency, because he's still technically a free agent. Maxim Siplikov. I think this happened before we brought in A-Dog and Brando on the show.
It did.
Do you guys know who Maxim Siplikov was, or is this the first time you guys hearing about him?
No, enlighten us. Not sure.
Yeah, not too sure.
Mr. Maxim Siplikov, and the only reason I know about him was because the Leafs were in the running for this guy. This was going to be our yearly Russian signing. It's let's see what Nikita Zaitsev, Ozhiganov, Kirill Semyonov, go down the list. Ilya Mikheyev, right?
Barabanov too, no?
Barabanov, yeah, like that entire list. He was supposed to be the next guy in line. And he's not a Leaf, obviously. He's a New York Islander. And if you look on Daily Faceoff, they've got him projected in their top 6. Kind of a big deal. He scored a ton this year in the KHL after scoring like okay-ish before this year. He's more of a power forward. Ilya Mikheyev-ish. I don't think he's got that same speed. But for what he doesn't have in speed, he does have a bit more of that like knack for scoring that Mikheyev didn't. Finishing, exactly.
I'm seeing 25 years old, so he's
young
well
guy.
established.
Yeah,
relatively young. Like he's.
But for a guy coming over, I would say that's pretty.
I think that was about.
I think that's about what
that
Zaitsev and like Mikheyev were.
I think
Fair
Mikheyev
enough.
was about 25, 24, 25. Yeah.
There was that signing, and it's like I think it's a league min deal. I don't have the details here, but it's an entry level, so it can't be anything crazy, right?
There's no details for half their signings.
Oh man, shout out to Lou. Of note, though, they did sign Anthony Duclair in proper free agency, $3.5 million times 4. Mike Riley is someone they brought back. Just a couple days ago, Simon Holmstrom re-signed. No details on Holmstrom. Shout out Lou once again. What do we make of the Islanders and really it's just the Duclair signing outside of Siplikov. So Duclair and Daily Faceoff has him on the first line. Do we like that?
I guess.
I mean, they really don't have anything else there. Like, what else are you going to supplant? Like, Anders Lee, is he going to play first line for you there? Like,
no, those days are done.
You know what I mean? Like, who are they going to throw up there? Pierre Engvall?
Yeah, and his 7-year deal.
Unlock
right?
it.
I will say, Anders Lee, did you see that like he announced the Islanders draft pick? Dude, that guy just gave a look and a half at the camera. I don't know what was going on there, but it was hilarious.
He could quit hockey tomorrow.
Yeah, he's got a career. He's got multiple careers lined up for him. Yeah, he gave quite a look. I don't know. It's really tough to judge the Islanders under the curtain of silence that Lou has them operating in. it's just the same team. It's just the same team. I don't
Like that,
and I really don't think Declare changes enough about the squad at all. Sure, he brings a lot more speed than we're used to in like an Islanders uniform, but if there's nobody else doing that, I think it's going to be easy to lose him. Just there needs to be more going on here. Siplikov is a shot in the dark, and you can't go wrong at his cap hit. But wow, for a team that has really been in that mushy middle ever since going to like those back-to-back conference finals, you'd expect a little bit more creativity, right? Like,
well, when you
we're
look
just
at
not getting it.
when you look at the roster too, like you wouldn't expect them to be like right up against the cap, which is kind of interesting. Is like they couldn't really get creative unless they were going to be in the trade market.
Yeah.
So it's like but there's nobody here that you would look at and say, other than Sorokin, like who's making all their money?
There's
Like
no
that's
one
the funny
here
thing,
that you're
right?
going to get value for that you would want to trade.
Exactly.
Right?
Or that another team would want.
Yeah.
And be able to make your team better.
All their value comes in their back end.
Yeah.
Dobson, Pelech, Pullock. Like,
Yeah.
even like they have
Romanov too.
Is Romanov that?
He's a 4. Like I like he's on their first pair right now.
Yeah.
He's good.
No,
He's
you're
good.
right. But even still, like I think he's like it's those 3, and then it's
Yep.
way down the list 4.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
I think it's just that their roster is locked in. It's just locked in, and unless we find out that they're willing to do more creative stuff, this is just kind of the Islanders. I think Nelson is a guy who's a free agent next year. So that's $6 million, but he's been really good for them. Maybe that's someone they should keep.
And Paul Mary as well comes off the books after this year.
So that's 11-ish mil to work with. Maybe that's
pretty big. For them. They can maybe start doing something.
Still doesn't help when you sign Pierre Engvall to what is he like 4.5 a year?
I think it's 3 flat.
3.
I think it's 3.
For 7 years.
7 years is great.
Or 6 more years after this now, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you even go down go another year down. You see that's when Anders Lee comes off, Joe comes off. I think they probably recognize that they really will have a chance to really start new in a couple of years, and maybe that's why they're saying we know what we've got. We can be around that playoff.
Does
race,
that
and we'll
is
go from
that
there.
worth punting 2 years of Bo Horvat and Matthew Barzal on the team? I don't know.
I think for a organization that's always had issues kind of drawing and kind of making money, it sounds like, I think they are willing to do that just to hope. They know they have a playoff-ish roster.
Yeah.
I guess they just don't want to make a mistake too early.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
I do think that's a very good perspective that I didn't have, where I'm slamming them for doing nothing, but maybe that's calculated, right?
Yeah, I mean, if only because it's only calculated now, but only because, and you wouldn't necessarily say at the time that these deals aren't mistakes. These are good players that are making probably at the time value for what they should have gotten, especially pre-COVID when a lot of these deals were probably signed. But I think it's just they're in a spot now where they don't have an option but to kind of wait it out, other than unless they're gonna really try to do something. But like we said, it's just tough, right?
It's making. I would even say it's making the most, because, like we said, they're doing less because of the situation they're in, but also they put themselves in that spot, right? That's the.
How many teams that we hear about today, because of whether that's social media or just the noise, is just like teams make moves just to kind of make just for change sake, and a lot of times, in my opinion, it doesn't work out the best.
In all sport,
teams that stay the course typically wind up having the best chance, and whether that's continuity or just, you got to stick with your gut and go with the guys that you like or know. In the Islanders' case, I don't think it's not going to miraculously happen, but you wouldn't be surprised if they're a wild card team again. Like the way that they'll
be sniffing
happens.
around it.
Yeah, it's just the way they seem to be, and I think they're at the moment they're happy enough. They'll never say it, but that's kind of where they feel like they should be.
Yeah. We'll discuss the Islanders in 6 months when Lou tells us what they do. They'll be like, oh yeah, hey, we signed. We actually signed Patrick Kane before Detroit, but we didn't tell anyone. My bad. Okay. New York Rangers, they didn't do too much in free agency. Sam Carrick from the Oilers on a 3-year deal where he will be making $1 million. And Braden Schneider got an extension. I actually do think is worth chatting a bit about. 2.2 for 2 years. They did make a trade with the Penguins on July 1st where they got Riley Smith. They traded a second rounder and a fifth, and Pittsburgh retained 25% on that. And I think Smith was making $5. So 25% on that takes him down to 4-ish mil. Actually, probably a little bit less. So yeah, really, it's Riley Smith is the headliner here. You guys Riley Smith fans?
Yeah, I mean, adding him to the Rangers, I think, is a great move. Honestly, a good thing they didn't do too much. I mean, why really? There's really no need for them to switch anything up. I mean, they won the President's Trophy last year, so
yeah, this is the flip side of the Islanders convo. Where it's like,
Yeah.
good, it's good you didn't do too much, right?
Yeah. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
I do worry a little bit about their back end when we kind of look towards maybe that third pair. I don't see a lot of depth. I have no idea who Zach Jones is. Are you guys familiar
Yeah.
with Zach
No
over
idea.
there?
He's been like in and out of their lineup for at least all of last year and maybe a little bit the year before. Like he's got potential. I know that like I've seen Rangers fans be like he should play more, but if there's actually something there, I don't know. Because like even as like Leafs fans, we've been there where it's like this guy should get in more. I've been there. I was there with Timmins, right? It's like, dude, put this guy in every game. He's got like 12 points in 14 games, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Debatable.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
as is, he will definitely play more. It seems like
Yeah.
next year. So I
Yeah.
think obviously as someone who doesn't follow them as much as I maybe should, if you're excited about those young guys, and I'm sure they are, then they're in a really good spot. But I think they have some space and had the opportunity to maybe do more. So I feel a little underwhelmed by what they've done.
I prompted you guys with the Braden Schneider talk. Brand, I'll start with you because you were saying that third pair. What do you like? Not like Braden Schneider, 2.2 mil?
No, I think it's a good deal there. I think for him, I think he's a good player. I think he'll fit in and be in a good spot. Again this year, I think. I just don't like the idea of, for me personally, like opening up a spot for a guy like Jones. I guess I'm just looking here at how many. I'm trying to find how many games he played last year, but I think if you're sure about it, again, it comes down to their organizational decision on a guy like him. If they're sure about him, you look at Toronto. They wavered back and forth on a guy like Timothy Liljegren, and I think that's hurt them in the past. If the Rangers are saying, we love Zach Jones and he's our number 6 no matter what to start this year, and that could very well work out, and he's still under $1 million. That's exactly what you want in today's NHL. But I just don't know enough about him to say that I'm sure that they're going to go into the season and not be looking at the deadline for a guy who can help them, as a team that's going to try to win a Stanley Cup next year.
Yeah, one move there's been rumblings about making that I feel like they shouldn't do is moving Jacob Trouba, because as much as he's kind of a wild card, I just don't know if you'd be able to get somebody back who could duplicate what he brings to the Rangers. Like I get he's kind of
a hothead.
Yeah, a hothead.
Right?
Yeah. But I feel like Rangers need a bit of edge. Like I understand there was like a rumor about him potentially going to Detroit. That didn't happen. I think he is your captain. I think you give him one more chance.
Yeah, like maybe all this talk and everything is what lights a fire under him.
Yeah.
Not that he needed a fire lit under him, but in the respect of it's like, okay, I need to know when to play my cards right, when to be that type of guy, and maybe look at ways to improve his defensive play, because I do think like Rangers fans in general are a bit down on him. They would be ready for that change. But what we did learn is that he's not ready for that change.
Yeah.
He apparently, the reports are that he is not too kind or fond of helping the Rangers make that move. Actually, let me correct myself. That was before July 1st. I think they actually could move him to certain teams now, because his full no move became a regular
team list, right?
Yeah, it's now a team list. So the really interesting dynamic there.
It would, It would depend who they get back, but I just if you take him out of their decor, I don't see anybody who's really too physical.
Yeah, no, 100%. He brings that edge.
Yeah.
And it's something that I know a lot of people don't like that about him, and sometimes it gets overblown. But I think, I don't disagree with that take though. I think you take him out. I mean, you got Matt Rempe there on forward, who obviously plays with more of an edge than other guys.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been calling them out for not having that type of edge in the past, and then you bring in a guy like Matt Rempe, you call him up from the minors, and you make Jacob Trouba, who's probably granted he plays with an edge, but it's like he plays a very, very thin line. Yeah, I'm in agreement there.
Before we jump off of the Rangers, I'm just going to go back to Schneider. And that $2.2 million deal for 2 years, as a 22-year-old, it's just like I cannot compare. I mean, I cannot help but compare it to like Timothy Liljegren, who I believe is 24 and got his 2-year, $3 million deal from the Leafs. And I'm just like, I don't see enough of a difference there in terms of value. Very different players. Like Schneider is a large guy, is more physical, doesn't play as much as Liljegren's been, but he's 2 years younger. And I don't know if the limited offense that Liljegren brings is enough of a trade-off for me that I'd prefer him over Schneider. One is left-handed, one is right-handed. Liljegren being the guy that's properly right, but Schneider can play the right side. So he's just it's just another contract that I look at where it's like, damn it, like the Leafs got Liljegren at 3 flat. What happened there? Why isn't it more in line with a guy like Schneider?
It's the Toronto tax, right? Isn't that the?
Yeah, Toronto tax, and honestly, I ran it through my head too. It's the fact he's got arb rights.
I'm sure that plays
too.
into it as well. Everything you would never even think of plays into these negotiations. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Okay. This is a team I'm excited to talk about, the Philadelphia Flyers. Not really because of what they did in free agency, but of one of their own guys that they signed who's coming over. Matvei Michkov, right? He signed on July 1st, $950, his entry-level deal for 3 years. They also re-signed Garnet Hathaway, 2.4 times 2. Eric Johnson, I think he was there after the trade deadline from Buffalo, 1 times 1. And Bobby Burnick is another young guy. They got 1.5 times 2. Really, I think the conversation starts and ends with Michkov. He's going to just be like the instant star in Philly. You guys have... I think we would have high hopes for him. Do you think he can like match those expectations from what we know about him?
With the team that's surrounding him right now, who's to say he doesn't win the Calder next year? If he jumps up right to that, they have him listed right now as a second line winger. I don't think he's going to surpass somebody like Travis Konechny. Can he play the left? Probably not. They have Tyson Forster up on the top line, but right now they have him listed alongside Owen Tippett and Morgan Frost. Like those are 2 pretty good line mates. You could even shift him around. Like you got guys like Scott Lawton, Joel Farabee. Maybe he plays with some Sean Couturier. Though there is some talent on this team that can, I think, help him win the Calder this year. I think he's that talented. He might pop off this year.
Yeah, I mean they clearly believe in him. I know this isn't accurate, but he's clearly slotted into the top 6 already.
I bet you Torts might have something to say about that first.
If we ever see Michkov on a 4th line next year, like that's going to be ridiculous. Like this guy is the epitome of like scale.
Yeah.
That's a good.
It would be such Torts move.
That's a good point. I mean, yeah, Dave's like projecting he could be Calder. Honestly, the one thing that might hinder his success could be Torts. Like we know his
right.
attitude towards rookies. Wish him the best, but yeah.
I don't know what his attitude would be towards a rookie that doesn't speak English either.
Yeah.
Right? Like imagine trying
to have him in the media and then not have to worry about it. I'm joking, but
yeah. I mean, listen, it might be tough because there's going to be a language barrier there, right? Unless Matvei's got, he's fluent in English, which I don't think he is.
I am not going to pretend that I know.
Surprised.
That would be very surprising to me as well. So it's going to be very tough. Maybe I don't know how. I mean, Torts has to have a way to kind of get around that if he wants to instill his philosophy in, but also he has to like kind of toe a bit of a line because who knows how Matvei's going to take that.
Here's one thing on that note that I think can give him a hand, or at least in being comfortable as a Russian coming over. They also brought Ivan Fedotov last year, right, who came mid-season. So he'll at least have somebody to lean on in terms of like from his home country.
If you want to talk about Ivan Fedotov, I think the one thing that's going to definitely hold Philly back. I mean, listen, their defense core isn't really anything to shake a stick at. Like you're still employing Rasmus Ristolainen, who's perennially getting the green jacket in the NHL. Man, Samuel Ersson, Ivan Fedotov. That's your starting goaltenders. That's your tandem right there. We don't need to relitigate what has been happening to Philadelphia over the past, I think it's past, let's say 12 months, past a year. Losing their last goaltender in the circumstances that they did, definitely tough. But now you had an offseason to kind of improve that, and you didn't. And you're running back Samuel Ersson again, who had good numbers in limited minutes, and then when he was given full-time minutes, he had very, very bad numbers.
Yeah.
And even Ivan Fedotov
question marks
was okay.
Question
he was
marks.
okay,
he played
but
like 3-4 games. It's not like we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what there is there. I think they're a really interesting team because there is so much in flux with this roster. Young pieces in like Forster, Tippett's young-ish, Michkov, Farabee, Bobby Brink, and then on the blue line, York and Drysdale. But I see so many pieces here that could be trade bait, right? And trade bait with a little, I think that some of these guys have a little bit more term, but Sean Couturier is their captain. He's listed as their 1C here on Daily Faceoff. He was healthy scratched at points last year after coming off a major injury that kept him out for a long time. That's a place they probably need to upgrade at some point, and we'll see like if that relationship with Couturier and Torts is fully mended. I would assume after a full summer that they're going to be in a good spot, but he's someone whose name I don't think we should be too surprised if it's floated out as a trade option. Travis Konechny needs a new deal next year or else he'll be a free agent. There's been talks already that they want to get a deal done there. It's going to be a very high number, right? It might get into the 9s, honestly. Morgan Frost is another guy who was healthy scratch last year. They got him listed here as 2C. That seems a little ambitious. Lawton has been in trade rumors forever. Sanheim was in trade rumors last year. Nick Seeler was in trade rumors and then they signed him an extension. There's a lot of guys here who could be on the move. So I don't know what to expect from Philly. I don't think they should be as good as they were last year to start, because remember they were pretty freaking good until they weren't. I almost wonder this year if they just aren't good from the get-go, but we just look at some of their young guys and be like, wow, they're fun to watch. They can't play defense, and they don't win games, but I like watching Michkov. I think that's what we might get out of them this year.
Well, that's the thing, is you think with a majority of their offense coming back, and then you add Michkov, they were a kind of a hungry team last year, and then you add in a guy like that, by all accounts, is kind of that similar player and can really score. So, I mean, it's possible they do kind of get out to another hot start, but that's where it will all depend on, the start that they have and where they decide to go. I think that's part of why they're not, obviously Konechny. I'm hearing he wants as much as 10. He wants maybe double digits, and I think if that's the case,
that's a lot.
They need to know if he's worth that or not, and they're not just going to throw that around.
Just based off of the contracts we've talked about this year, there wasn't a free agent that signed a double-digit deal, right? And we had a guy who scored 60 freaking goals in Sam Reinhart. We had Jake Gensel, who might be just as good, and neither of those guys got double digits. There's no world where Konechny should, right?
Maybe back-to-back 30-goal seasons, there's no world where you see him projecting any higher than that.
Even if he topped out at 40 goals this year and scored 90 points, I'm not giving him 10 mil just based off of the contracts that were signed last year. Mind you.
No, that's fair.
Okay. So I should say this, though. It might be 10 mil because of the cap going up. Let's go with it shouldn't be even a percentage point, even half a percentage point more than what those two got on this year's cap. Yeah. Right? So whatever that number is, that's just by inflation, he's going to get 10. He could get 10 million next year if it goes up another 4 mil on the cap. So
no, and I agree. And when you look at the length of that contract, probably at that point, he's going to grow into it more, and the cap will grow into it more too. I think that's the way things are going to go in the next 5-6 years as the cap really starts to move. But I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's worth that amount. Like I wouldn't say he's on the higher echelon of players who are making north of $10 million a year, but it is what it is. When you're the best player on a team, like you said, it's all about percentage of the cap, and you just have to kind of fit in wwhere you fit in, and oftentimes the market's going to tell you how much you're going to make, and I think if they get off to a slow start, you could absolutely see a sale of a lot of their players that need new deals.
I might selfishly want that to be the
Yeah.
case. No reason at all. No
Well, there's
reason.
going to be some really, really good players available if that's
Yes,
the case.
that's the thing is I do like a lot of the pieces on Philly. Even if they don't work together, they could definitely make things work on other teams.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Pittsburgh. Before we talk about this year's Pittsburgh Penguins, I just want to get a round the table answer here. Was anyone a believer in them last year after Dubas and the moves he made before the season started? Because I will admit I was a believer. I actually did like them to at least make the playoffs in the Metro. Anybody else follow me on that one?
End of
I
the
don't
year.
remember.
End of the year, I was all in on them making the playoffs.
Okay.
No,
I was rooting for them, but then ultimately fell short.
No, I just assumed with you've got Sidney Crosby. That's to me you're gonna get into the playoffs. To me it was a little embarrassing to the organization that they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it is kind of.
No, true. 100%. I don't know. I wasn't convinced that they were going to make the playoffs. I thought if they did, it would be in a wild card spot. But I thought, like Brandon said, you have Sidney Crosby on the team. You should be making the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say transition to this year.
Man.
Let's go around the room. I think we're going 0 for 4 in terms of making the playoffs. Let's lay out some of the things they did. Matt Grzelcyk on the blue line, 2.75 times 1. Beauvillier, 1.5 times 1. Blake Lizotte from LA, 1.85 for 2 years. That's
Mac
about
Hollowell.
Mackie Hollowell, Sioux boy, former Leaf, Dubas's guy. But yeah, that's it, guys.
Oh, but they got Sebastian Aho, though.
Oh yeah, they got Sebastian Aho as their 1C. Oh, that's the
Oh.
defenseman,
The wrong guy.
Sebastian Aho.
Tough. Tough look.
Yeah.
Shout out Jack St. Ivany for being on the defensive pairing. He's the
Wilkes-Barre
guy.
Scranton.
Yeah, Wilkes-Barre Scranton legend
Oh,
who caused
saw.
everybody in this class
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
or in our
Headache.
class to
Academic.
Yeah, man, did he popped off that
Complications.
one game that we went to go see, right?
Yeah.
Killed the Marlies.
What do we? Oh, I should also. Yeah, it was the Kevin Hayes trade that they made.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the Kevin Hayes deal, which I'm trying to pull up some details
info on
on
it.
because I'm pretty sure with that one there, I think they gave a pick instead of getting one
Getting a
back.
pick back?
I'm pretty sure.
Kyle.
What do we make about the roster as I find those Kevin Hayes details?
Lots of mid.
Yeah.
Very, very lots of mid. And also, you said like could be 0 for 4 on making the playoffs. This roster might be like they might be playing over their heads, but look at the other teams in the division. Like the team we're going to talk about after. There's a couple of them like you have locked in already, but they're going to be in a dogfight for probably one of those last spots. Like we don't expect New Jersey to miss again.
Yeah, Carolina, Rangers.
Rangers.
That's 3 already there. You can only have 5 teams from one division.
The
Make it
team,
at max.
the team that we're going to talk about, like
Yeah.
Washington, that we're going to talk
The
about
team
next.
that shall not be named.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Who are they? Are they that much better than like I don't know, Columbus?
Yeah.
no, I'm
Yeah.
joking. That's Crosby automatically thing. Like they have the deciding factor in most
Yeah.
cases because you have Crosby and Malkin
Let
and
me-
Letang and Eric Carlson, whatever. But you have Crosby and Malkin. Like that's if
Yeah.
you're gonna go in a 50-50 with any of the other teams that we didn't mention there. You should be taking it, but like
Yeah.
I don't know. What if one of them goes down with injury? They're both in their late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
I'm
Who
gonna-
are they going to bring in to replace those two guys' production?
Kevin Hayes, man. Kevin Hayes.
Yeah. If Kevin Hayes is your fallback option,
You
I'm
got
sorry,
problems.
pal.
Yeah.
Go
So,
fish for the lottery.
I just want to correct myself that they did get a second pick with Kevin
okay.
Hayes, so they did not. Yeah,
Oh,
it wasn't
congrats,
the
Kyle.
it wasn't the double
might
thumb
have-
move, but
you might have not taken it all
Yeah.
that hard.
I think with Penguins moves, the best way to break them down is to look at this roster projection here. They had the Daily Faceoff has Drew O'Connor on the first line. I'm gonna ignore that. That's
What?
not. I don't think that's what's gonna happen. But let's play out like our own lines here. Bunting, Crosby, Rust. That's like it's Crosby and guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Literal
Even as someone who
dudes.
liked what Bunting did in Pittsburgh.
That's a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. He is first line dude. Like he can be that.
That's his role. He does
Yeah.
it well, but still, right? It's in combination with everything else, right? Then if you go, I don't know, what are you even going as your second line? Is Drew O'Connor on your second line?
I would go probably Beauvillier, Malkin,
and if Beauvillier is in your top 6, you have problems.
yeah,
Right?
You're right.
Yeah.
And if Drew O'Connor's in your top 6, you probably have problems.
Yeah,
too.
and listen,
There's where the
Drew
problem
O'Connor,
begins.
Drew O'Connor actually decent.
Yeah, he's
on
fine.
your third line.
Yeah, he's
on
fine.
your third
Yeah.
line.
So is Anthony Beauvillier on your third line.
I think Anthony Beauvillier. I'm pretty sure he was healthy scratched after he got traded to Nashville last year. I think he's that's not a good sign.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. I think on the third line he's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not
you're,
there.
You're almost basically thrusting him
Yeah.
into the top 6.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a
a tough
old mishmashy forward core.
Yeah.
Not even core. Forward, like the entire
Forward
roster
team.
here.
ensemble.
The whole team,
Ensemble.
even on the back end, man. Like I don't know, Marcus Pettersson's not getting any younger. Chris Letang is certainly not getting any younger.
Pedersen's
right?
fine. We know that the Pens fans are ready to kill Ryan Graves. So, but it's like, can he only get worse? So, yeah, I don't know. Matt Grzelcyk.
Sure.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah.
You took
Yeah.
Boston's sloppy seconds.
Yeah,
Good job,
it's
guys.
yeah, and we're also seeing Chris Letang twice on.
Yeah,
defensive praise.
I don't even
Shout out
know
Daily
who
Face
the
Off
extra
there.
defenseman. Oh, it's Eric Carlson.
Carlson.
That's who it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that
yeah.
guy.
Oh yeah, that Eric Carlson.
Oh, you mean the
fella?
guy that might have
Yeah.
won a Norris? Yeah.
And even if you get a bounce back from him, like from an offensive standpoint, who still was like fine offensively, it wasn't 100-point Eric Carlson, but I don't even.
Yeah, I don't think you're
20
gonna
extra.
get.
Yeah, and even if you do though, is it going to really be the difference between playoffs and not?
I mean that
No.
could be.
I don't think so.
Well, 20 extra. They were close to
You
the
don't have
playoffs
Riley.
this
You don't
year.
have Riley Smith. You turned
Yeah.
Riley Smith into Kevin
You're right.
Hayes. You
For
lost the corpse of Jeff Carter.
I mean,
It's-
that might be a benefit to them. Actually.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah,
It's just not. It's not doing it for me this year.
You're
It's definitely
right.
not.
They're gonna struggle to
But-
score.
but even still,
Yeah.
listen. If everything goes their way, by the grace of God, they squeak into the playoffs. How much heavy lifting do you want Sidney Crosby at 38 years old to do to get you past the first round? If you squeak into the playoffs,
Yeah.
right now I already get the eliminated sign ready, right? Because that's a sweep. Like
I'll
whoever
give
they
you-
play.
I'll give you a comparison. It's going to look a lot like how Washington played the Rangers this year in
Yeah.
round one,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Let's transition into Brian's team. He may or may not have been planned to join us. We'll see.
We're still waiting for,
We'll
for a
see.
confirmation. I
If
did
not-
send him a text message.
if
I'm
not,
trying to get,
we'll-
hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Well,
where you at, buddy?
We'll carry the torch here for Mr. Bragg because his team did a lot. Honestly, this was the team I was most excited to talk about. Not just free agency, but just the entire package of what they've done in the offseason. As far as free agency is concerned, Matt Roy, 6 years, 5.75. Brandon Duhaime, 1.85 times 2. Taylor Radish on a 1x1. Extension for Connor McMichael, 2.1 times 2. But this is obviously all in addition to some of the moves they made earlier, the Mangiapane trade and the Pierre-Luc Dubois move. And they got Jacob Chikrin from the Senators, trading Nick Jensen in that deal. I'm going to have to figure out what the draft pick...
Just wait till we get to the Ottawa Senators.
next
man.
episode. Next
Oh,
episode.
man.
Yeah, the
That's
Atlantic's
gonna
going
be
to
a
be...
fun talk.
Atlantic's always a spicy
There's
one.
always enough storylines
So,
in there to keep you going.
They got Chikrin for Jensen and a third, and I like Jensen.
Yeah. For Jacob Chikrin though.
Yeah, even if Chikrin has one deal, 1 year left
Yeah.
on his deal. Yeah, this is a new and improved team in Washington. Which of these moves stands out to you guys as your favorite? Like, is there one that we don't like? Like, I think it's Dubois.
I know
The Dubois
I know
deal-
one that has Aidan salivating right now.
Oh yeah.
It's
Okay.
the PLD deal.
Okay.
Yeah, just
You're the guy, right? You're the PLD guy.
Yeah.
Hey, it's the PLD guy over
It's
here.
bad.
Yeah, if he pulls it together, I think it's a great move.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a wild card.
Yeah. Some buy-in from him would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Some buy-in from him could quite literally be the only thing stepping away. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here.
Stopping him
From assisting on Alex Ovechkin's goal record, right?
Yeah.
Ovi's on. I think needs a 42 goal season, 43 goal season
Yeah.
to break this record. I'll literally 50% buy-in from Pierre-Luc Dubois could be the only thing stopping that from, PLD to Ovi for that goal.
I know that's Brian's argument too. Is you could be the one to assist
He could
that
no,
goal.
like I don't even think that's like, dude. If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. Like I know you want to win the Stanley Cup, whatever. But dude, this guy's chasing. This guy is chasing a record that when Gretzky set this record, everybody was like, "This is not being touched ever again."
Yeah.
Right? And now 30 plus years later, here we are. You have this ridiculous Russian rocket who's 40 goals away. Literally
say that tongue twister 10 times.
Like I think he does it. If Pierre-Luc Dubois, if he gets to a hot start and Dylan Strome isn't really a thing and Pierre-Luc Dubois is the one to kind of like come in there. Like obviously this also goes for Dylan Strome as well. Like Dylan Strome could be that guy. I don't know.
I think he already is that guy.
Right now he is.
him.
But are we fully convinced that I think Pierre-Luc Dubois is a better player than him?
I actually like Dylan Strome.
You like him more than PLD?
Yeah, like
Even like buy-in PLD.
Buy-in PLD. Okay, let's project what buy-in PLD looks like. Is it what is the, and let's be conservative, right? What does he have to give you? Or like, I am happy with Pierre-Luc Dubois giving
60
me
points.
Yeah.
Give me 60 points.
That's where I was gonna go, and just not be a hot, like just not hothead.
Don't
be an idiot.
Don't be an
like,
idiot.
Play
Yeah.
your shift out. Like
Yeah.
don't get torched again.
Hustle.
Right.
Hustle. Just
Yeah.
hustle.
So if he does that, the bare minimum for that, 60 points and some effort.
Here's the problem: if he's not hustling and he's playing on the line with
Yeah.
Alex Ovechkin, it's really going to be only one player that's
Yeah.
hustling. So that's what I mean.
So
like, okay.
but I'm saying I think Strome, like I think he did 60 points this year. I think he did 30 goals.
He did. I think he did. You're right.
Career year.
And I still don't know if we're gonna get buy-in from Pierre-Luc Dubois. That's
You're
still
right.
a question mark.
No,
for me.
it's a big question mark.
Yeah.
100%.
I think if you start him on the second line, it could take some pressure off, and then you see how he gels with the team. And
Injuries happen.
Yeah.
I think
right?
he should have no expectations to be on the first line to start. Like even
Yeah.
just by pedigree, by
Does he not though? Does he?
no, I really don't think he should be.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. He's been bounced around different organizations, but every single time it's kind of been like he's kind of been like tagged as the next guy that's coming in to kind of like help lead the franchise. And
So maybe he shouldn't this time, and maybe that's what will make
I
the
don't know.
difference.
Can you beat that out of him? Like I'm not sure.
I think yes.
As much as I'm rooting for him, I feel like there has been like a sense of entitlement with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, chip on the shoulder.
Yeah. So maybe this is the move that kind of knocks some sense into him.
Yeah.
Let's hope and pray.
Yeah. He would have to prove it first. Like
Yeah,
I don't
that's right.
see it. Sorry for Brian, but I don't see it working.
Yeah,
like you
fair.
just don't like. You can't
Yeah.
tell me it's going to work when it's never worked. So
It-
I don't know.
yeah.
What's
It
gonna
is quite
change.
literally. I don't know. Have you guys ever seen Arrested Development before?
Yeah.
There's one scene where where two of the characters are they brother and sister?
Yes.
Yeah, they're talking to each other. It's like, well, this hasn't worked for the last like 3 people who like have done it, but it might work for us. So this could blow back right in the Caps fans' face. But for as much as, and Christian knows, I've talked all the smack about Pierre-Luc Dubois. I think we have. I think the both of us have.
I've been right
Yeah.
there with you.
We've been there. So has Brian actually as well. But listen, I'm more optimistic of him joining the Caps and succeeding than of him joining a lot of other teams and also succeeding.
I can agree with you on that one. Yeah.
There's other teams where what, like if let's say hypothetically that PLD gets moved to Toronto, I'm sitting here and I'm like,
I'm
sorry,
in the fetal position and crying.
yeah, sorry, pal, that's not the move there.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
I'm gonna make everybody vote right now on
Go.
does he turn it around this year? And we're gonna set that parameter 60 points, and that's it. Let's just go with
60
that.
points.
Does Pierre-Luc Dubois record 60 points this year?
Yes.
I'm going no.
Yes.
1 yes, 1 no. Brando?
Hang on. What did he have last year?
I think
I want to
40.
say 40 points.
I think 40 on
I've
the
got
dot.
it. Oh, you're right. Yeah, he had 63 the year before, 60 the year before Winnipeg. I don't see it. I don't think he's gonna.
So under 60.
I think he'll be under
Yeah.
60. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, and you guys get 60 as the tiebreaker. So like 60 or more.
60 or
is
more?
good.
Yeah.
You guys
It's
are
fine with me.
That's
So
fine.
no,
All right.
59 and under is a
Is
no.
us.
Okay,
That's me
fine.
and Brando.
That's
Okay.
fine with me.
All right.
Yeah.
So lucky for Brian, no matter what happens there, I do like all the other moves.
Yeah.
I am a big Andrew Mangiapane guy. Not just because he's got the most Italian name in the league. You want to talk about a guy who does bring the effort. That guy's the definition of it.
That's the bread man right there.
That's the bread man.
That's the real, the eating bread man.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, that's the pane mandra right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, he didn't have a great year last year, but tell me who did on Calgary at forward, right?
Igor Sharangovich.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, fair.
Oh, Brian is willing to talk, by the way. So
Okay. If you want to try and get Brian on the line while I keep going about the Caps
we'll
here.
We'll let him have like 5 to 10 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mangiapane is a guy he didn't have a great year last year, but he had a really good year the one before. And maybe he's not a 30-goal scorer, but he's going to be somewhere in between. I think he can give you 20 to 25. I think he can give you 50 points. And we know he gives you effort no matter what. He's someone that a team can really make use of in their top six, no matter what team you are. I would have loved the Leafs to be in on that one. I think he makes $5 million for this year. They traded a second-round pick for him. I can't remember if they got him half retained too. But nonetheless, I think it's what he gives you. He gives you about $5 million value with what he brings to your team. Kapaunikel does it all. But really, unless you guys actually can talk about him first, what did you guys think about Matt Roy in Washington before I give my thoughts there?
Go ahead, Aidan.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a great signing. I know you were really high on him potentially going to the Leafs, and the Leafs did talk with him.
They were very close.
It just didn't.
Apparently,
it just didn't really get done. But yeah, they just addressed two core areas of their team, their right wing and then their top four defense. I think they solidified this offseason. I don't know if you can name 3 better teams who had a better offseason than them. Maybe Nashville.
Yep. I'd say Washington's too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was debating between them and the Devils, but I would probably give the edge to Washington, just because they still have, the solid core of O.V. Wilson and Carlson, but they've also been able to retool and get younger at the same time.
There's a very good blend here.
Yeah.
There's veterans, there's guys right in their prime, and there's guys on the come up.
Adding,
all 3.
Yeah, adding Taylor Radish, I think is a great move. I think he's a perfect third liner.
1 by 1, you can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
I think he had a 20-goal season in Chicago. He wasn't good last year, but
So I think
they've done it before. Sonny Milano was that guy in Anaheim, right? And they turned him into something.
Yeah, I could see Washington climbing up the standings next season.
Yeah, when you add in the Logan Thompson, I think you can go a step further and say that they solidified almost parts of every aspect that they needed to address. We look back at the Islanders and talking about not being creative. The Capitals were extremely creative in the way that they decided to make changes to an aging roster. Again, you bring up the Pittsburgh argument. Washington was in that same boat last year and went out there and put out a pretty aged team, an older team. And while they had limited success, they either knew and realized that they needed a plan to get younger, or they decided this year on a dime that they should try to get younger through trades and free agency, and it's worked out. I think they should be better than last year. It may not work out that way, things don't, but on paper they are much improved in my opinion.
Yeah. Anything on Matt Roy or even Chychrun? We haven't really touched on Chychrun.
Chychrun's a tough one. It's hard to know exactly what you're gonna get with him. It feels like at this point, but Matt Roy, I couldn't speak more highly of him. The deal maybe I would have liked to, obviously the Leafs, he might have been coming in a bit lower, but maybe Brian has something to say about that.
Brian.
How are you guys?
Give us a second here, Brian. We can't hear you though.
Sounds good.
I think we've got him, Dave. I can hear him at least.
Can you hear him on the
Yep.
Yeah. Brian, you can hear me, bud?
Loud and clear.
All right. Yeah, we've been yapping about your Capitals here for the last 10 to 15 minutes. Before we talk some more about them, you went on a trip. Tell us about Florida, buddy.
I did, and I was shocked to see a Florida Panthers sign on the freeways congratulating the team.
That was pretty cool. You got more? Come on. You don't got more about Florida, dude? Come on.
They actually care about the
Panthers
there?
It was one of the best trips I've been on in a while. Got a lot done. Worked in the night. Enjoyed the summer. They have a really good tan. The other guys don't. They burnt.
Oh yeah.
What was I gonna say here? Weather-wise, because over here we had probably one of the worst weather weeks in a while. How was it in Florida?
It was gorgeous, really sunny. But
Yeah.
this is the off season, so there's a lot of rain, a lot of lightning, a lot of thunder. So up until let's say noon, it's beautiful. Then you got 2 hours of rain. Then it gets pretty again. But I'll definitely take that over what you guys got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did hear
yeah.
about what we got over here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. You missed. You didn't miss anything good in terms of weather. Okay. Well, we'll start talking about your team here because honestly, I was telling these guys, I think they agree too. Like this is the team we're most excited to talk about today. So I think there's a lot to chew on. I haven't even mentioned that you guys hired a new GM, right? McClellan's president now. Do you know anything about Mr. Chris Patrick and what he's about?
Ooh, I know that he was pretty involved with the team prior. I don't know how he is as a GM, but I don't know if you guys saw, but there's a pretty good tweet out from his cousin who is actually an artist, and said something along the lines of, well, I'm just watching my cousin become an NHL GM, and I'm just sitting on the couch enjoying music.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know that he comes from like the very famous Patrick family, related to the NHL. I think there's the Patrick division, right? That was a thing. It's a huge family. It's close to the Sutters in that respect. They go way, way, way back in terms of NHL connections. So very talented family. And your team looks like they got a little bit more talent. Where do you want to start here? We've obviously talked about Dubois before, and Mangiapane I think we touched on, but new stuff to talk about with Roy, Chikrin. I think
Even
those
Logan
are
Thompson as well.
even Logan Thompson. I don't think we've touched on. So take it where you want with one of those guys. Which one's your favorite of the three?
My favorite is probably Chikrin.
Okay.
But we'll start with Roy just because of the fact that I know that you wanted him. Based on what I know,
very much wanted him. Yeah.
based on what I know, 5.5x6 looks like a good deal. Solid across the board. Definitely keeps us competitive. I wanted to look at his cap friendly. I wanted to see if there's any movement clauses or trade clauses or anything like that, but we can't given the current situation with that website. But it looks to be an all-around solid deal for both sides. I mean, the player gets the term and the money. We get a solid defenseman for the future that will keep us stable. And I don't think it reminds me a lot of the Brooks Orpin and Niskanen deal, which ironically was signed exactly 10 years ago on the exact date, July 1st.
Damn. That's what swayed Matt Roy to go to Washington over Toronto. He just wanted to make that connection. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we signed a solid blue liner from we signed Niskanen and Norpik from Pittsburgh, but we signed Roy from LA. But it kind of just reminds me of just sending a stable top four guy for a relatively similar price, inflation included, by the way, guys.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Moving on to Chikrin, I actually don't think that we fleeced Ottawa as much as people think. Jensen was a top four guy, so assuming that the average cost of a top four guy is a first, and then we paid the years, the age difference with the third, it looks to me just like a simple deal. I do appreciate that we give Chikrin a chance to just shine. Jensen was slowly falling off with us, and I'm glad to see that he would get a new start in Ottawa. It just seems like it's a fit swap. Jensen needed someplace new, so we sent him to Ottawa. Chikrin needed someplace new, so we took him back here. I do expect big things from him, just given his potential. And ironically enough, he's actually the guy I wanted a lot in the 2016 draft. Well, not as much as Matthews, but we'll take a guy we'll take a solid offensive defenseman whenever we get the chance to.
Yeah, Brian.
And Logan.
Oh, sorry, Brian.
Oh, sorry.
You can talk about Logan. Let's hear about Logan.
Logan Thompson originally started his career in DC. I don't know if you guys knew that, but he was with our ECHL team for a while, I believe.
I didn't know
I had
that.
no idea.
No.
Nice.
No, that's our scouting doing its blunders of work.
Full circle.
And it just so happens that he happened to go to Vegas eventually. But it's glad to see him back in DC. I hope he does well because I think that we have an extremely great value tandem with Lindgren and Logan Thompson. I don't have Cat Family up anymore, but I think if you combine the two AAVs, it comes out to be a 2.3, which is solid for a tandem. I mean, you can't even get a backup at 2.5 these days.
Yeah, it does.
It's exactly what
it
we
is like
signed our backup
2.3
for.
actually.
Yeah, we signed Stolars for 2.5, which I'm happy about. But yeah, I think that goes to your point for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bri. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
go
okay,
ahead.
thanks. Yeah, Bri. One of my favorite signings you guys made was Taylor Radish. I feel like he's a great guy to slide into your bottom six. What are your thoughts on him?
I think he's going to be a solid fourth liner. It's going to be tough for us to get depth on the wings just because we have so many young guys coming up. But what I can say is I've heard a lot of good things about him from like just looking online. Seems to be a guy that will give us a little bit of the Hathaway vibes or something similar to Dowd, but those are high expectations.
I mean, then next, if we're gonna stick on the wingers talk, like you guys got the other bread man, Andrew Mangiapane. I don't know if we really touched on him yet. I know that's somebody that a lot of people really like. He's such an underrated piece and such a complimentary piece. How do you think he's gonna fare now going forward?
It hurt me to see us make that trade, not because I don't like the player, but because I think that it signs off TJ Oshie's career.
Yeah,
They play a similar position.
For sure.
They make almost the exact same amount of money. I think it's 5.85. And it's just sad to see a legacy player go, but what this move does is that it keeps us competitive. Whatever Oshie was doing on the right wing second line, Mangiapane slots in perfectly. And I just think that it shows you the masterclass that McClellan made as he was on his way out, knowing that he had to keep his team competitive, but also retool it.
Oof. Well, I mean, one more big question here.
Oh.
Is there anybody else that, like, I think we should let you talk about PLD, right? Unless we have anything else before that.
I think we had PLD talk already.
We had PLD talk, but
No, we had Brian on. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
did we?
Yeah.
Did we do that the last time?
That was when we called him in. That's when it was
That's
yeah.
right. Brian,
Yeah.
we do have a question though. Like, we're kind of going around. We went around the room here. We asked each other. 60 points is right now is the benchmark for PLD to be. Let's say have a successful season.
Yeah. Two of us said yes. Two of us said no. You
We're
can
split
get
down.
two, but
We're split down the middle right now on 2 and 2. Where do you lie on that benchmark?
I'm slamming the over with 78.
78.
Oh my
Holy
God.
buddy.
Get this guy off the line.
Hello.
Get this guy off the line.
This guy's having a hot start. Ovechkin knows that he's close to the goal record. Jean-Luc Dubois might be starting with him on that first line. The assist number is gonna crank out to this guy.
Wow,
He's
dude.
gonna have a good season in DC.
1 year of Dylan Stroman, you're already willing to throw him to the side, eh?
Come on, man. Send him to Toronto.
Dylan Strom's great, but Jean-Luc Dubois has a very high ceiling, and I think
Dylan Strom is great. End of sentence. Okay.
Bri, last one from me here. There, I would say, a handful of new guys. A few guys gone now. Whether that's offense, defense, or even in goaltending, if you like. Obviously, that was you had a few adventures there last year. What aspect of the team do you think is the most improved when you look at the guys that you guys have brought in?
I think the defense definitely got a huge shakeup.
Yeah.
In the sense that we got 2 top 4 guys for essentially Jensen and a third. Because given how Matt Roy was a free agency signing.
Yeah,
But
even the money, like even when you say like you got 2 top 4 guys for, let's say, I think it's 11 mil combined and a third, like that's still good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
But I will give credit where credit is due. Our forward group just got a huge shakeup from top to bottom. Like, we got an elite center now. We also have a second line right winger and also a fourth liner that came in. And I also want to give flowers to Brendan Duhaime. I think he was in Minnesota last season, but we picked him up
That's
as
your
well.
Hathaway replacement there.
Yeah, looks like Dow's gonna have some new buddies on that fourth line, which looks good.
We're looking at daily face-off, and projections here have Protosh on the fourth line, and I know he got an extension. I think he's making $3 million now, so that's like, yeah, that seems flip-flop, like you said. Radish fourth line, Protosh third line with like Milano and like Hendricks Lapierre, like that. I really like the forward. Like, there's balance there. It's not like overwhelming, but there's balance on those lines, and I I think I would agree. Like, it's the defense that got the biggest upgrade there. With these moves, we can give you this as your last one. Early prediction. Are you a playoff team? Are the Caps a playoff team? Because you are. I'm
going to be realistic here. We are going to touch the wild card spot and just squeeze in like we did last year. It's not going to be as tight as it was this year, but we will get in.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that's a fair one.
I think most of us, I think we do think you're a playoff team. I'll tell you what, we definitely don't think Pittsburgh's a playoff team. So
yeah,
hope,
so that's good for you. Yeah,
hope that makes you happy there. And I just want you to know as well, Matt Roy, Toronto was the finalist there.
Should have been a Leaf.
Almost
could have been a Leaf.
Yeah.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
He's the one that got away. So congrats
Oh,
on that
it's
one.
all good, brother.
We can at least
pal.
bond over our love for Matt Roy. I might just scream after
Yeah.
every time I mention him. But
Just wait for him to score the
know I
OT
like
winner
him.
against the Leafs this
Jesus
year.
Christ. Okay.
It's happening.
Brian,
Okay.
thanks so much for joining us. Get some rest. I think you only landed here yesterday, right? So
Yeah, I landed and I had work the next day.
oh
Nice,
Jesus.
dude.
Yeah, so no, you
Very
actually do
nice.
need some rest. So yeah, go get it, man. And hopefully your Caps don't make too many trades before we speak next.
I just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job. Take care and have fun, eh?
Thanks,
Thank you,
man.
brother.
Good guy, Brian.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Awesome. Okay. Before we wrap up, I'm gonna do my Matt Roy bit here too. Yeah, I'm mad that the Leafs didn't get him, but shout out to Washington. I wrote about him. Didn't have Washington on my radar. From a Leafs perspective, what would have made him so great is the fact that this dude takes twice as many slap shots as anyone on the Leafs. Not combined, sorry. But I think it's Riley or Liljegren who takes 50. Who took 50
There was
last
no
year.
way. There was no way Morgan Riley took 50 slap
So it's
shots.
probably
last
Liljegren, and even then, right? Like trying to envision Liljegren 50 slap shots. I'm
Dude,
like,
if Morgan
I'll
Riley
guess
took more
20.
than 15 slap
Yeah.
shots last year,
Yeah.
I will gladly give you $20 right now.
I say it all the time that Morgan Riley plays with too short of a stick. He never uses his backhand, and his stick is also like really like his flex is very low. He needs a stiffer stick.
You know
That's
what,
just
dude?
my 2 cents there.
Next
So,
time that I see him out in public, I'm gonna tell him.
Yeah, let him. Hey, your stick is.
You might be playing.
You
He's
need a
gonna look at me
stiffer
like, "Who
stick."
am I?"
Yeah,
But I'm gonna tell him, man.
You tell him, Dave. You tell him, Dave. Yeah. So, and even Matt Roy, it's not like this guy's shooting bombs all the time. It's just more to talk about the fact the Leafs defensemen just do not take slap shots, and Matt Roy would have helped there, and all the other areas too. He's pretty good. Okay. That wraps up our Metro Division free agency analysis. Thanks so much for watching. Shout out to Razor. Shout out to NHL Shop, where you can get a Mangiapane jersey, a Chikrin Caps jersey, a Matt Roy jersey. You can get it all at NHL Shop.
Or a Kevin Hayes Pens jersey if you
Hell
want.
yeah.
Hell yeah. Get your Eric Robinson
Robinson,
Hurricanes
baby.
jersey
Heading there
too.
right now.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So Razor, NHL Shop, Fubo as well. Shout out Fubo. Shout out to you for watching. Tune in next when we cover the Atlantic Division.